Hello and welcome to my second lecture on drawing, and this one is about proportion, the proportions of the human figure. Now, as you can see from this handout, basically, I'm hoping this shows up, but I'm not sure it will. Yeah, there you are. Okay, so basically the human form can be divided into 7.5 heads and then subdivided also laterally. Now, basically what I'm going to do today is do a quick drawing of this so you can see how to subdivide your figure and how to go about drawing it. Okay, so I'll start off and continue to explain as I'm working. So I'm going to put the top of the head here, and then in order to get my 7.5 subdivisions, I'm going to measure it out. And I'm going to use 2 centimeters as my scale. So that's the first subdivision. Now this will pass directly through the horizon line from my perspective drawing. The reason why I'm doing that is because that way the figure is firmly in the foreground and has rough eye level with the horizon line. So that's 1, 2, so there you are. That's my 7.5 subdivisions. So what I'm going to do now, okay, so these are our horizontal lines that divide up the body. So in this one, you'll have the feet below the ankle, and in this one, you'll have the head to the chin. It's very important to remember that you're not including the neck in this. It's just the head, like so. And you'll have the hairline around here, although again that depends on the hairstyle. In this instance, I'm drawing a woman. So what you'll have is the neck coming roughly, so the sternum notch, which is here, that's the sternum notch there, is roughly in line with the horizon line. In fact, dead on the horizon line, which makes our life a bit easier. So then you've got to think about the shoulders. Now each of the shoulders comes to about here. And they will be coming down at an angle, like so. Now again, this is a principle drawing. This is not from life. if you want to draw a person, the best way is to remember this rule, but draw them in real life, or from a photograph if you can't do it in real life because you're in lockdown. So we then carry on from here. Now, each section of the arm, so that's the shoulder to the end of the bicep here, your elbow, is 1.5 heads. So shoulder to bicep, 1.5 heads. So that's half a head down to about here. Same with that. So the curve of the underside of the breast will be here. The ribs will come down to there. It's going to register mouth, nose, eyes, so I know where I am. So from about the belly button to the crotch is another one head, one unit, and in that you've got the hips. Now bear in mind that men and women's hips are different. Women's hips typically, not always, but typically are slightly larger. Then you've got the upper thigh here. Then you've got the lower thigh and kneecap here. So there's your knees. Dum dum. Now, shin, shin, down to the feet. Feet are sods to draw a head on, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. But they look roughly like that. Well, they don't, but it's as good as I'm going to get with this chalk pencil. The reason why I'm using chalk pencil on a black paper is that when I did a test with white paper and using lead pencil, which is what I'd be usually doing something like a perspective and proportion exercise in, I found that you couldn't see the lead paper, the lead on the paper until it got very close to the screen. I'll give you a demonstration of that. So there. So if I then bring that right forward, you begin to see, yes? So I'm doing this for convenience, but the one thing you really shouldn't do is use a chalk-based pencil on black paper when you're doing exercises like perspective or proportions, because you probably will make mistakes, which is good because you learn from them. But it's impossible to cut this around too much with a rubber or with anything else. So once it's down, it's down. So I have to be quite careful. And even when you're being careful, the chances are you'll make the odd mistake. Okay, so this is the proportion. So 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, 4 head, 5 head, 6 head, 7 head, half a head. So 7.5 heads. That's both men and women. But with a man, the hips will be smaller and the shoulders larger. That's typically. I mean, obviously that doesn't always happen, but in the majority of cases, you see that the shoulders are bigger. There's more bulk here in a man than typically with a woman. Although obviously some female athletes, so someone like a swimmer or someone who plays tennis, they'll have larger upper body mass, which might make the hips look smaller in comparison. But that, again, that's scale and that's build. So crucially, when you're drawing a figure, think about who they are, what they do, because that will affect their musculature and how the muscles are developed, where they're developed, where they're not developed. Okay, I'm just going to finish this off, show you where the right, so the break in the arm, the bend in the arm is about here. And then you've got the hands that come down to again, wrist is here. So it's just, you can line it up. Thumb, mass of the hand here, fingers there. And then the same on the other side. Make sure you get your thumbs opposing as opposed to non-opposing thumbs. Don't want that. And there you are. Also, the neck will vary in size according to the person and the build. Thick neck, thin neck. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try, because we've got a bit of time left on the video, is start foreshortening. So foreshortening is, I can actually demonstrate this to you. So if I'm holding my pencil right up to the camera, okay, so comparatively speaking, the end of that pencil, if you compare it with my face, takes up a larger area of the screen than, 40% of my face, and even more the closer I get it. There you are. So that's foreshortening. It means that you see this pencil head much larger, then you barely see the shaft of the pencil, and you see nothing of the back of my hand, or indeed my forearm. You do see a fragment of my shoulder and my bicep, but mainly what you see is this pencil. So I'm going to try and do that on here. Okay, so the pencil will be massive, and then bigger, and bigger, and then coming to a head like that. But then this will seem very large. Then coming back, and then you'll have smaller fingers. So this is where, to some extent, the chalk pencil comes into its own, because I'm giving you a nice body of a pencil that you wouldn't otherwise see. And then from my finger, and from there you have my hand coming back, and the other finger coming over it. Now this is slightly exaggerated because you can't see my upper finger, just see my thumb and my fingers there. So when you're doing foreshortening, it's far easier to do it with something in front of you that you can have held in a position rather than trying to keep looking at 3 different places at the same time. Again, mistakes are good because you learn from them. You learn how, for example, I've got this wrong, so it should, if you look at that, then you look at the picture, which I don't know if you can see properly. Just change your angle a bit there. So yes, you can see here that the thumb is here, but that's in the wrong position because what should actually be happening is that it should look more like a clamp. So the thumb should be around here and slightly bigger. Then the fingertips should go round the base of the pencil here. Well, the top of the pencil is kind of working, but that would be the white bit, chalk. But then you'd also have the halo of wood around it where it's been sharpened. So I'm going to do another lesson on foreshortening that's going to be a bit more organised than this, but this is just introducing it for you. Again, to reiterate, these are all exercises. They're all abstract to some extent. The best way of doing things concerned with foreshortening and perspective and proportions is use your Mark 1 eyeball and look and draw from life or from photographs that are very good quality, and you can see all of the proportions, the foreshortening and the perspective. Okay, that's it for this time, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.